we've got some bad news for Brian Williams. Pew Research did a poll. They showed a picture of Brian Williams and they asked, what is the name of this person? And unfortunately, back in August, only 27% of Americans could name him. An additional 3% could say that, I don't know his name, but he is an anchor reporter. And you see there Dan Rather. Now, that information is from a long time ago. It was from 1985. And back in the day, 47% of Americans knew the big name in the evening news. So a significant drop-off in that time. Now look, over the course of nearly 30 years, there's a lot of changes in American society, a lot of potential explanations for this. But you can't discount that obviously fewer people are watching the traditional evening news. We have information on that as well. Take a look at a chart going back almost as long. You see 1980 there, over 50% of Americans on an average night will view 50 million, I should say, will view the evening news on a given night. That number down to about 24, 25 million in 2010. And we can expect, because I don't see any evidence to the contrary, that that trend is probably continuing over the course of the next 3.5 years afterward. So not only do they not know who Brian Williams is, which is perfectly fine, but they're not watching the evening news to get their information. And the reason I want to talk about this is not just to gloat that, yay, internet talk shows are winning out. It's partly that. It's partly things like the Huffington Post, the Drudge Report, and things of that sort. People are getting their information from a lot of different sources, but this is a huge trend. And the chances that this is not having a significant impact on the sorts of information that people are getting, the way they're absorbing that information, the way they're using it later on in their political lives, I find that to be unlikely. I'll continue to look that up for you. But also, the reason I want to talk about this is we, as an online news network, we watch the big news, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News. We watch them. We comment on what they say. And so to us, they're very important. And perhaps because of that, the focus that we put on them, it might seem like they are objectively more important than they actually are. And you, as a viewer of us, might be led to believe that they are. Like, think about O'Reilly. O'Reilly regularly trounces CNN and MSNBC. He beats both of them combined in any given night in viewership. And they'll often say, look, he got 3.5 million viewers on any given night, which sounds like a huge number, and certainly it is. I mean, it's higher. We get well over 1 million views a day here on the TYT, but his number much higher. But how significant is that really for the political discourse of America? 3 million, yeah, there's well over 300 million Americans, and so you should bear in mind that it's a relatively small percent of what people are actually consuming and the sorts of people that we have in America. Now, specifically, let's go to, we've got what Americans turn to for news. So where are they getting their news? There you see that television is still a big percentage. 55% of people say that television is where they get their news from. And you can see specifically that Fox is at 8%, CNN at 7%. Now we had to cut that off. MSNBC, I'm sorry, man, but you're at 1% there. That is shameful. Hell, TYT's got to be higher than that. We weren't included in this poll. There's some bias there. But Fox is at 8%. Now, we are obviously very worried about what Fox does and the damage that it does to political discourse in this country, but 8%? It's talked about as if it's the biggest thing in the world. 8%? Phil Robertson beats that every night on Duck Dynasty. And we need to bear that in mind. As important as they are, as influential as they are, they're at 8%. Rush Limbaugh, what can he be at 2%? He's on the radio, for God's sakes. Glenn Beck, he loves to talk about his subscriber numbers. We know that he's inflating those numbers. Maybe 0.5% have him as their primary source of information. So look, we should be worried about the effect that they're having. We should continue to try to battle it. It's unfortunate that Media Matters has decided to back off, declaring mission accomplished against Fox News. But let's bear in mind that most people don't consume any political information at all. And when they do, a lot of them increasingly, thankfully, are getting it from the internet, not from Fox News.